So how do you create self-belief, and how do you believe in yourself when no one else does or you haven't done anything? It's easy to believe that someone who is already successful can be more successful because they've already done something. And we typically have confidence in competence. And when you think about people that are going to make it or people that are going to be successful, and when you look at someone and think, God, of course they're successful, like an entrepreneur or a sports person, you think, of course. You think, of course they're going to be successful. Look at how good they are. Look at how much they've done. It's a really important thing to be able to do because anyone who wants to become successful, any entrepreneur, any sports person, anyone who wants to build something and actually, create a career and be the best in the world or something, they started off as nothing. And they started off with this discrepancy between the confidence they had in themselves and their abilities and the actual way their competence would manifest through their experience. And so what you need to learn to do is develop a deep intuitive self-belief. And you need to have a deep level of confidence in yourself and in your ability to work and get the job done. And actually, you need to think you can actually do it. The problem is if you don't believe in yourself and if you don't have confidence in yourself, and I hate the word self-belief because we're going to talk about how to do this and there's a whole thing to it that you need to understand. It's not what you think. The problem with self-belief and confidence is you haven't done anything and you have no reason to be confident in yourself and you have no reason to believe in yourself because who you are right now and the worldview that you have and the identity that you have is manifesting your current reality. And so the only thing you can really trust your current sense of self or current identity or current belief systems to do is to generate the current reality that you experience. Because the way that the world works is the way the world manifests to you and the way that we experience reality is a reflection of what we believe about it. And so basically your identity, your worldview, your paradigm is like a projection. And what you think of the world and what you expect of the world and what you tolerate from the world is what the world will give you. And so a lot of people, they tolerate being unhealthy, they tolerate being poor, they tolerate being neglected, they tolerate being rejected, they tolerate suffering, they tolerate depression, they tolerate anxiety. And through the belief system of identity creation, so basically what happens is you form beliefs and you form your identity around things that have happened to you and you get trapped. And a primary example of this in a psychological study comes from the idea of called Pavlov's dog or learned helplessness. Now, we're not dogs, we're not canines. We have a little bit more sentient consciousness than a dog. But what Pavlov found in his quest to understand learned helplessness is if you put a dog in a box and that dog tries to get out of the box and you shock the dog, then the dog will no longer try to get out of the box. And this is called learned helplessness. And it's basically a way to explain how classical conditioning, i.e. bad things happening to you when you try and do something, prevents you from trying it again and again and again. And so a lot of the dogs, what they would do is they wouldn't try and get out of the box a second time because they were already expecting a shock. And some dogs obviously managed to get out and were smarter than that. But the point I'm making is you're not a dog and you're not, a canine and you're not stuck in a box. But the metaphor is very true. Most people, what they try and do is they go out into the world and they try and make something of themselves. And they very quickly, immediately learn that trying to make something for yourself, building a business, building a career, building an expertise or building a brand or whatever the hell it is you want to do, they realize it's really hard. And what starts to happen is people judge them for it. People don't believe in them, they fail, etc., etc. And that's the shock. You try and climb out the box, you are met with the very cold, hard reality of, and any time you try and bend reality, guess what? It bends back. It's going to bend you. It fucking hurts, right? To try and move this thing around. So the question is how do you believe in yourself? And how do you have the confidence and, if anything, the audacity, the audaciousness to move on and try and create something better for yourself? And I have the answer for you today. And I'm really excited to share it with you because this is something that I've done in my personal life many times over. And I've taken myself from someone who's a complete broke, college dropout, loser, video game addict, to someone who's actually done something. And I've got a long way to go on my personal journey. But I have been able to recreate myself and reinvent myself. Here's how you do it. First of all, stop trying to believe in yourself. Stop trying to have confidence in yourself. That's paradoxical because the whole point of this video is you're thinking well, what the hell? How the hell does that work? Because I need to believe in myself to do something. Because if you don't believe you can do something, then you won't bother trying to do it. And if you don't believe me, look, most people never sign up for a marathon. They'll never sign up for a fight. They'll never try and start a business because fundamentally they believe they can. And your beliefs basically give a sense to your action. So all of the physical movements in your body, the decisions that you make consciously and cognitively come from your belief systems. And so a belief system is like a route. And the tree of, I don't want to say the tree of reality because that makes me sound like I'm on some sort of drug. The tree that grows from that root is basically your life. And you have hundreds, if not thousands, of these little belief systems, statements of perceived truth that basically lock into place. And everything that grows from them is basically, i.e. your behavior, it determines how reality comes forward. So if you believe that 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and you think that that's the statistic and that's just how things are, let me tell you something. 9 out of 10 businesses fail for people that believe that 9 out of 10 businesses fail, okay? And the reason that is because if you go into business and you believe there's a 10% chance of me actually making this work, then you give yourself no choice. This is called praxis. You give assent to action through belief. You give yourself no choice but to make that business fail because you're already expecting it to. And so what I found in my personal experience of making more than $30 million, $40 million online, building a successful company, having a team, like living my dream life, is what you expect of the universe is what it will give you. And you can replace universe here with God or law of attraction or whatever the hell you want to use. And this is some metaphysical crap talk, right? But let me get concrete with you for a second. Don't believe in yourself, believe in who you are becoming. The only thing that you need to have belief in yourself about is your ability to change into the person who can achieve what you want to achieve. And so this is transcendence basically. And what you need to understand is you get what you are for who you are. And so where you are in life right now is the product of you, okay? It's you. It's all your fault. You must admit and assume and take complete 110% total responsibility for your existence. All your mental problems, all your health problems, all your financial problems, all your familial issues, although they might not be your fault, right? You are responsible for them. Because any problems in your life that you're facing ultimately are your responsibility. It might not be fair that they're your responsibility, but they are your responsibility. Because they're in your life and they're within your realm to sort of manipulate, control, and shift around. And so what I found works for me really well when I'm looking at a mountain of work, or when I'm looking at a really horrible thing that I don't want to do, or when that confidence that I have in myself starts to slip, it's a sign that my goals and my identity are misaligned. And what this represents, beautifully so, in the realm of Jungian psychology and stuff, is a deep, deep latent desire, an unconscious part of you wanting expansion. And let me explain how this works. So you are who you are. And for some reason you have a goal. You have this thing you want to achieve. You can't explain why it's there. You don't know why it's there. It just is there. I want to make 10K a month. I want to get shredded. I want to have this. I want to have that. I want to get married. Whatever the hell you want, right? And the chances is that you're not capable of achieving this goal right now. And that's why it's a goal. It's why something you need to strive towards, because you can't get it right now. And this is beautiful because what it basically is it's kind of like this deep unconscious calling from within to call you towards expansion, to call you towards progress, to call you towards a trajectory, towards something that means something. And so what goals represent is a deep unconscious drive to want to improve or want to expand. It's very masculine by nature, this sort of idea of expansion, this growth is basically what you're looking for when you set a goal. And, it's cool because what it then does is it gives you this sort of cognitive identity-based dissonance, like goal identity dissonance, which is where there's this distance or this dissonance in other phrases, where you are who you are and your goal is where it is, and there's a big distance between these two things. The question becomes, well, how do I achieve the goal? Because first of all, you think, okay, I need to believe in myself to achieve this goal. I need to generate the self-belief because I need to act with confidence. No, it's the wrong way to look at it. What you do instead is you ask yourself, who would I need to be to achieve this goal? Like, if I look at people that have achieved this goal, because there's probably a few of them out there, right? If I look at people who have achieved this goal in this state of reality, what do they look like? Not physically, not about their height, their skin tone, their hair, their eyes, but what does their identity look like? How do they see the world? What belief systems do they hold? What character traits do they have, etc., etc. If you pair that idea of this sort of hero figure of who, like, for example, I make like $1 million a month, right? Give or take, not always, but 8 figures income. If you looked at me and you've watched my channel for a while and you said, do you think Charlie is capable of making 100K a month? Your answer would be yes, because I've done that. I've made more than that since I was like 20, right? But what's the difference between me and you? We're still human. We both still have brains and bodies and stuff. So the difference is that I've developed myself into someone that can. And so what you need to do is pair this idea of this hero figure with the idea, and this is a sick idea, with the idea of identity malleability. And this is kind of like Protean insofar as what you need to understand and recognize. And this is the whole thing, this to make you feel very free and very relaxed, is that who you are right now is not who you always have to be. And it's entirely possible for you to undergo a complete transformative identity change. A lot of people believe that your identity doesn't change ever. They think they use this whole idea of neuroplasticity. So like you get to 25 and your brain doesn't change, some crap like that. It's not true. We have the capacity as humans for total, utter change. And the reason I know that's true is because I've done this myself in my personal life, in my business life, for my health over and over and over again. And the question becomes how? How do we change? The simple answer to this is you need to know what you need to change into, because there's an infinite number of variables about yourself that you could change, from what food you like to what personality traits you have, or what you desire in a partner, or how good you are at talking. There's an infinite array of divergent possibilities for the reassumption of identity or ego, right? So it becomes a bit chaotic. So what you do is you pair this understanding of identity malleability, and you truly believe it. That's where you start. If you want to change your beliefs, the first belief you change is the fact you can change beliefs. It's like a meta belief. Like you need to alter and change your belief systems that basically create your identity about like who you are is who you think you are, and who you think you are is who you believe you are. And so when you look at yourself in the mirror, you have all these things about yourself that you believe to be true about you, and that's your identity. And it can change because those beliefs formed from somewhere, and if something is formed, then it can be reformed, if you know what I mean. And so maybe not in physics, that's not perfect, but you get my point. And so what you do is you need to think, who do I need to change into? Like, how do I change? Where the hell do I start? Well, you start with the end. Okay, you start with the end because it's the smartest place to start because it gives you so much clarity. You look at this goal, this thing that you want to achieve could be anything. It could be a millionaire, could be to be financially free. I'm using financial examples because I tend to make more business-based videos. And you ask yourself, what do I need to change about myself? And like understanding that you can't select your goals around who you are right now. Instead, what you need to do is select who you are around your goals. Does that make sense? And so you think, okay, I'm malleable, I can change, I can alter my belief systems to change my identity and reverse, sort of re-engineer my behavior towards a trajectory, along a trajectory towards a goal. And then what you do is you look at the goal and you ask yourself, who do I need to become to achieve this goal? And then all you have to do is become that person. And so this is crucial. This is crucial lesson in critical thinking, in goal theory, in achievement. Having thought about this for really 10 years now, we don't achieve goals. We don't achieve outcomes. We don't achieve achievements. We achieve characters and identities, states of psychological existence that allow us to effortlessly manifest behaviors that create causes to trigger the effects that give assent to the objective that we actually want. When I got that, when I was like 19, that idea clicked in my head. And I went from nothing to a millionaire in about 2 years. And I know that that sounds wild, and I know that sounds crazy, and I know that you think that getting rich is all about buying a certain pump and dump crypto coin, or getting lucky, or winning the lottery, or going viral. It's not about that at all. It's about shifting your behavior. It's about changing the way that you act in the world and taking responsibility and looking at this objectively and understanding that what you want to achieve, as in if you want to make money and become a millionaire, can be done. But it cannot be done by you. But it cannot be done by you in your current state. And so what happens with people is they get very frustrated because what they do is they go after the goal and they try to achieve the goal. And then because they are themselves as their current identity trying to achieve the goal, it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Like you can't become a millionaire with the current state of existence that you have right now. The current identity, the current worldview, the current paradigm, the current belief systems that you have, the way that you see yourself, the internal thoughts, the relationships you have, the skills you have, the character traits that you have, ain't possible. Because if you were the person that could have done it, then you already would. Or you'd be on a trajectory so far along that a message like this wouldn't be necessary and wouldn't resonate with you. That then might leave you a little bit disjointed psychologically and a little bit depressed because you're like, well, if I can't do it, then what's the point? But this is the point. You don't try and do it for the goal. You don't try to go after the goal. You ask yourself, who do I need to become? And then you go after becoming that person. And it's by becoming that person that the goal manifests. And this is Jungian psychology. And this is the deep understanding that you need to have of how goals and psychology works. And seeing goals for what they are. You don't want a Lamborghini. You don't want financial freedom. You don't want the holiday. You don't want the Rolex. You don't want the money. What you want is personal expansion. And it's the goal is your unconscious, the only mechanism your unconscious has to communicate to you that we want to expand. And this is fucking awesome because when you get the hang of this, like life becomes a little bit of a game, because suddenly you start understanding, like, why do I want this goal? What the hell's the point in that? But then you recognize it for what it is. It's not this, it's an arbitration of the future. But what it really is a call for, it's the hero's journey. And I don't mean the hero's journey, I'm not trying to say like a cringe way, like that, you know, saying that in like a weird way, not in a weird way. What I'm trying to say is it's that, like, it's a call for the hero, and that hero is basically you changing yourself in pursuit of something. And that feels really good. And it also feels really bad at the same time, because it's very painful to do this. And basically what starts to happen is the first step of transcendence and changing yourself is complete, utter emotional turmoil. Because what starts to happen is you become aware of who you need to become, and you start trying to alter and adjust your behavior accordingly. And there's this short little window of let's call it behavioral dissonance, which is where you have to start behaving out of alignment with who you believe you are and what you believe you can do. And your psychological tectonic plates are just all over the place. Like you're just shifting and changing and shuffling. And so what you need to be able to do, you know, in female self-help thinking, this is called Delulu is the Solulu. And I hate to say that because, you know, it makes me cringe, but it really is, like, temporarily here, you need to be able to sit in a state of delusion, temporary healthy delusion. And that really is the solution, because that's how you have self-belief, and that's how you have confidence in yourself. You have confidence in the person, that the confidence comes from this, right? If I was the person who could get this done, then it would be done. And so what you need to do is have belief in yourself to become that person. And that's way easier to comprehend, because you want to know why? That's actually within your control. That's a variable that you can adjust. Your behavior and the way that you orient your physical body and the decisions that you make and the psychological, like, variables that you shuffle around in your life, that's in your control. And so you can believe in something that's in your control, but you can't believe in yourself to get it done, because fundamentally, no, you can't. And if you go after your goal as the person you are right now, and by believing what you believe, acting how you act, etc., 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 then the goal's not going to happen. And so this is a really, really crucial lesson in personal development, and it's a pretty unique perspective to take, and it's made me a lot of money, and it's something that I thoroughly hold close to my heart. And so you have to be prepared for this massive onslaught of negative neurotic emotion, because what starts to happen as you start transcending and changing is the part of you that you are right now doesn't want to die. And the current sense of self and identity that you've built up, this worldview, like, in psychology, we have this idea of identity preservation and worldview protection mechanism. And what that basically means is your identity and worldview matter to you, because they are how you've oriented yourself in the world, and not having those temporarily feels incredibly chaotic. Because if you don't have an identity and you don't have a worldview, then you're nothing. You're just this body floating through space and time. And that's what happens when people do too many drugs, and people get a bit weird, when people have midlife crises and their identity breaks and their worldview breaks, and everything they thought was true. This happens to people that have, like, been cheated on. So you've been with a partner for 50 years, then you find out they cheated on you, and suddenly your entire relationship is brought into question. Your entire identity and worldview is suddenly shattered before your own eyes. And that's really painful. And so what we're doing is we're inducing that shattering by trying to chase a goal, which really hurts. And you're not going to want to do it. But all you've got to really be willing to do is tolerate that emotional pain and understand that you're kind of like shedding psychological skin. And then you're going to start behaving in a new way, because you're like, okay, well, I need to become this person. How do I become this person? Well, I simply need to behave as if I am them. And it's by behaving as if you are them that you will become them. Because here's what starts to happen. Is you start them, it's like what comes first, the belief or the action? Because in order to form beliefs, you need to do actions. In order to do actions, you need to form beliefs, right? So what we do is we place our belief in the idea that he who can would get it done. So the person I'm becoming could easily do it, so I need to become that person. You place your belief in your ability to become that person by acting out how they would act out, and by thinking how they would think. So every time you come to a decision, every time you come to an action, or you have a path, a psychological path to take, what you do is you ask yourself, so let's say that your name is Tom and you want to be a millionaire. You'd say, what would millionaire Tom do here? So let's say you've got a decision to make between, you know, going out and partying and making cold calls for 3 more hours. You think, what would millionaire Tom do? Millionaire Tom would make the cold calls, because that's just how he would see the world. He wouldn't go partying. He'd want to maintain his millionaire status, so he'd just keep making cold calls. And so then you start acting like millionaire Tom, and that hurts, and it's painful, because you're breaking down your identity and worldview, which you've been working on and building, by the way, for God knows how long you're old. If you're 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 40, I don't care. You've never thought about this before. You never thought about your psychological change and your ability to mold and ply yourself into this position. And so however old you are is how many years of conditioning you have to undo. And it can be undone pretty quickly, but just with the intensity of action. And so the way that you break down your identity and worldview is through relentless action. And after a little bit of time, you'll start to reconfirm your identity. You'll stop going to the parties. You'll start making the cold calls instead. You'll stop smoking the weed. You'll start eating healthy. You'll stop playing video games. You'll start working more. You'll start changing your social circle. You'll start reading books. Your content algorithms will change, and you'll start I'll leave you with this in closing. Your identity has been constructed. Okay, whether you like it or not, you have an identity and you have a worldview, and it has been unintentional up until now. Everything that's happened to you has formed your identity and your worldview, and so you've been responsive. Okay, so everything, who you are right now and how you see the world is the result of everything that's happened. And so what you can start to do is you can start to break that down by making new things happen. And over time, you will just start to change and you'll become a completely new person. You'll have the same driver's license, the same name, the same genes, the same eyes, maybe a little bit of a shittier hairline. There's one for you. But you'll change psychologically. And the actions that you start to take and the way you start to see the world will completely shift. And everything will be amazing and you'll actually have your goal. And so remember, you don't achieve a goal, you achieve a character, and it's through the achievement of the character that you achieve the goal. That's all. Subscribe.